Hi everybody, I'm back. It's another day, another live stream, another trading day. This might be 3 days in a row of not really taking anything in the AM session. Part of me thinks PM session is going to be better today, just because we already hit this high in the pre-session. So we're going to see if we want to continue on up or flip right back down to sell off. So I want to keep paying attention to what we're getting here today. Just got an alert here on PayPal. I'm going to check PayPal real quick. A nice gap up. So I just want to keep checking. Like, I have some investments in PayPal just because we're so low. And I just noticed I got the alert, so I'm looking for PayPal to eventually start ripping back up. They just laid off some employees and stuff, so they're going to focus more of their money on aspects of the business that matter. And I really believe in Venmo and everything they do, so we'll see. We'll see how this investment plays out, but we're very, very low. Bullish divergence here on the RSI, so we'll see. Maybe I think we can still come lower. There's always a possibility, but we'll see if these investments play out well or not. But I think it's a low stock, in my opinion. But anyways, going over here to the overall trading markets. Let's actually go to the daily here on NQ. We're just consolidating, trading down, coming back up, consolidating. I would expect this high to be taken up here, but we can't fully expect anything to happen here in these markets. We can only just anticipate a direction based on our analysis. So what are we getting? We got relative equal lows down here, and then we got these highs that we just hit here, and I believe we just hit this high too. Yes, we hit that high too. So I'm paying attention to that. We could go higher, but now we're starting to pull back, which is kind of a normal situation to have when we hit the high. So paying attention here. Let me just get all this off my screen real quick. I don't need all this on here. So with that being said, we're trading up, and we do have speakers today. We got to keep that in mind too. We have speakers at 11, 12, and then a bond auction. So they could say something to influence the market in some direction. It's not high impact, it's medium impact. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not trying to push anything, obviously. But let's just see what we get. You know, we hit this high, now we're pulling back. I'm still interested in longs, but since we just hit this high, we could pull back into this range now. And I want to keep that in mind because we do have the SMT divergence and all that fun stuff. We didn't quite hit this rejection block here on YM. So I want to pay attention to this rejection block that's up here. If we do get back up into this range and get more SMT, we could possibly sell off. But just what we're seeing now, we got this 15-minute fair value gap. Let's see if we want to stay in this fair value gap or just completely sell off from there. We're just in one of those spots where it's like, it's hard to know what's really going to happen. You know, it's like, do we want to just trade off this and go higher, or do we want to like close down below it and come back lower towards these relative equal lows that are down here? So if we go to a 15-minute, we see our overall trading range that we have from, I mean, you could say down here up to this high now, but we have all this internal liquidity down within here, and a lot of relative equal lows that we didn't even hit. So I want to pay attention to that. So I'm going to be paying attention to these lows, see if we want to get back down there or not. So we have this 5-minute inversion. We have this 5-minute inversion if we close down like this, which we are. It's looking like it. But we also hit this discount fair value gap. So that's not really a valid fair value gap because we're in this leg. So we really just have to pay attention to what we're going to get within here now. So still paying attention. We got these relative equal highs here. So if we do just sell off here, come down into this area again, just possibly within this range, we could look for a bullish continuation back up. 4 hour, we got 24 minutes left in this 4 hour candle. See how that closes. So I wanted to keep paying attention here. So let's see. We'll see what we get here. Looks like we're just rejecting off this right now. Still need more time for more information. Nothing's A+. Like, we hit the liquidity. We hit a higher time frame PD array, which is obviously just up within here. And then if we get a shift in market structure to get in sync with order flow, we could possibly short down towards these lows and then these lows here. But if it wants to keep rejecting here and give us a nice accumulation at some point with SMT, we could trade back up to this high here. I wouldn't be opposed to that either. But until then, I just want to keep watching this price action until we get something nice. Something that I can trust, that I'm familiar with. You got to think about all the liquidity down below here. We got our midnight open here. Same here. And we traded down a little bit, but not much. Let me trade it up, and this could eventually sell back off. But we can just consolidate. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we just consolidate this whole like New York session, AM session, and then sell off in lunch hour, and then PM session. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Or if we sell off now without really a nice setup, like, there might be a setup within there to sell off and then news, and then we buy back up into the range here. I'm not really too sure what's going to happen, so I just want to keep paying attention here about what we're getting. So that's going higher, and we're just moving lower here. So that's diverging. This is hitting the rejection block here. So if we continue to hit the rejection block on YM right here, we could go higher a little bit, but since we're in this rejection block and this candle took out this liquidity, this could still reject here pretty strongly, and then we could sell off. But we'll see. We'll see what we get. Not a huge fan of everything we're seeing, but I want to mark up this opening range too, because I didn't do that yet. I want to take this one off. I'll take this one off too. Those could be on there. I just don't want my chart to be so messy. So we're going to see. This is about 25% of the range here, if we just eyeball it. So that's what we're coming down to. Then we got 50% of the range here. So I would expect the 50% of the range to be hit at some point. So looking at this price action, came up higher high here, lower high here. And we're just selling off. Gun to my head, we're going to keep selling off towards 50% of this opening range here. Especially if we get this 5 minute to close down next 14 seconds down below here. That'd be nice. Okay, we hit that low already. So still, we're going to continue to wait right now. I just like that we hit this high here. Made a higher high here, lower high here, shifted down. Came back up, higher high here. And now we're just continuing to shift down. Now we just had our 5 minute inverse. Now we have this breaker here. So how do we play off this breaker? Do we send price lower from this breaker, or do we not? So I just want to pay attention to all that. So I got 5 minutes before I normally take a trade, like, to my plan. Like, if it was A plus right now and it was like complete sync with order flow, this might be a good time to look for a buy or a sell, but nothing's really looking A plus yet. We could, like, because we're in this discount here, we hit this liquidity. We're already bullish, but we hit the buy side. So the buy side, then you can expect a retracement, which is what we're getting. We got the SMT at the highs. So I would like to see some more consolidation here. Maybe we get up into this range, up in here, more SMT, and a nice inversion here to sell down. That might be nice with SMT with these other indices. So I'd be interested in seeing that, but until then, I just want to wait a few minutes. But yeah. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back here. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Just traded back up into this high here, as you can tell. And then we just traded back down. So you're not really getting a whole lot of SMT. I mean, you can go down to a 30-second. There might be an inversion for a value gap here. Yeah, but it's not the best. We had SMT at these wicks here, and then we just traded down like a mofo here on YM. YM obviously had the better short there, but we had this 30-second inversion here. But I don't want to get so focused on these lower time frames because I'm looking for the overall narrative versus the patterns. So I want to pay attention to what we just got here. We just got relative equal lows here in a 15-minute. And those relative equal lows are right there. And we want to pay attention to see what wants to happen with those lows. Do we come back down later? Do we trade back into here and then come back down? Or do we just continue up higher? So it really just depends. So how far down did we trade? So I'm actually gonna, because like this is such a big opening range, I want to measure this entire range here and put it in quartiles. So 25% of this entire range. So 25% of this entire range would be right about here. So if I'm paying attention to this, I want to see if this wants to act as a potential resistance level. Just notice how we traded down. When we came back in, we used this as a resistance, and then we traded right back down. Okay. So I want to pay attention to all that. No, we hit the low, we had this inversion, but I still just want to pay attention. What are we getting on these time frames? So this 9-minute, we opened up, we traded down on the 9-minute, and then we traded back up on in. How is this reacting off of this inversion here? Do we come back up above, or do we continue to keep moving down? Or do we take this off? Or do we just continue to move back up above, and maybe we hit this high, but we make a lower high here maybe, and then we start to fold over with a nice accumulation down? That'd be nice. That'd be the best bet in my opinion. I would like to see that. But until then, we'll just continue to see what we get here in the price action. So we came up to that rejection block as we were talking about. We took out this internal high here. Took out this high. We have not taken out this high yet. Of course, it doesn't want to load. So we'll see. So on this 30-minute, I think it can go either direction. We're hitting this for a value gap here. Never hit it down here. Or down here. So that's bullish. I'm wondering if we're going to inverse this 2-minute right here, which we're about to close here in the next 30 seconds. So if we inverse this 2-minute here, I'd like to, yeah, that high is going to get hit, most likely before. But if we inverse this 2-minute and leave this high right here, it's likely that we're going to continue back up and above this area here. I'm just not a huge fan of it. Because if we just inverse the 2-minute now, this could be a potential entry, but I don't want to risk something like that. Because it could come back down into this range, and I don't like to risk more than 20 points. So we'll see if it wants to reach up towards that high now. We got these relative equal highs that are up here. We just blew through this high. Now I want to see how this wants to react. Does this want to reject it, or does it want to keep blowing right through? Gun to my head, we're going to rip up to this high here. and then we're gonna accumulate and fall back down. If we go down to a 30-second, what are we getting here? It's looking good for a continuation. So this wick traded back down into this candle, but we didn't here. So this looks like it's going to keep ripping on up. So as long as we stay up above, I would say this entire fair value gap here. I think this is good for continuation up on through, up to the 20 points, up to this high here. We'll see what happens over the next few minutes. I'd like to see this stay as like an entire breakaway gap, you know? I could be wrong on this, which is fine. It's not A+, because we didn't hit liquidity. We just tapped into here, as you can tell. Three-minute close, very bullish. Now we're just pulling back down a little bit, and we can get a possible continuation up on through. It's a 1 minute wick there. Let's see how 30 seconds looking. 30 seconds ripped it down into this fair value gap. Like I said, this fair value gap should hold. Now we got a propulsion block here. Taps right down to it. Could just rip right up to the moon now. Honestly, not a huge fan of this setup. Took it on a paper account, but not on a eval. The reason being is because we left these equal lows here, and we just traded up so fast without like really giving me something valid to trade. I don't know, I'd like to take it a little bit lower versus than up here. So I'm paying attention to this. If we hit this low here and we don't have SMT, I won't even want to be in it anymore. 2 minute time frames gives me the best picture here. So I'd like to see this low stay intact now. The question is, are we going to hit it on ES or not? We just hit it on YM. We bearish SMT at these highs here and these wicks. Like I was saying, I don't think this is A+. It's more of like a C setup. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in this anymore. We could just rip up from this fair value gap, but I don't think it's worth the risk personally. I just closed the paper account that I was in. Very small loss in the paper. Only 200, 230, 239. But that was more of like that should have been like a tape reading play anyway. I shouldn't have taken that in the demo because I didn't even have the full leverage on it. And like when I realized like myself, like when I don't even put full leverage on like a paper account, I know it's not a great trade. So we came back up to the high, we hit the order block, and now we have SMT at the wicks here. So we just closed an inversion on what time frame was that on? We're about to close one on a 2 minute again to come down to the sell side of those relative equal lows. So if we close this inversion, I want to pay attention to really what we start getting in here. I think we could short down for sure. Yeah, 13 seconds, but I don't want to see this low taken first. If this low gets taken first, and then we hit this breaker here, we could end up possibly reversing. So yeah, I think we just hit the low. Yep, we just hit the low here. Didn't give me a setup beforehand, so obviously I didn't get to take that trade. So we hit that low. We didn't hit this low here. So if we inverse this 30-second, we're probably going to rip up to this high. Just need to get a bigger picture of what we're getting here. It's against my rules. A higher time frame narrative is now, like, it's hard for me to want to long this because we hit this high and we're trading back down into this range. So I think we could hit this 50%. If we were short up here, I think we can hit this 50%. So it's hard for me to want to long this in this smaller time frame range. Just like look at this 3-minute candle. It's kind of gross. I'd rather wait to see if this 3-minute wants to close here and then we get an inverse, then go long, or if we want to sell off first and then get some type of setup. But it's looking like we're just going to play this breaker, to be honest. These down close candles here is a potential breaker, and keep folding over to the downside, because now we have this 5-minute order block that's looking good. So I want to pay attention to what we get within this area here. Do we get up above this high, and then we get up in the middle of this range here, and then we get more SMT to sell off? That would be ideal. That wouldn't be a bad setup, because we already have SMT at the highs here. You know, I don't think we need much more SMT. It could happen. That's why I was expecting this to rip up, but obviously you can't expect everything to happen that you want to happen. So here's this 30-second that I was talking about. If we get a closure above it, we could go up higher, but just based on that higher time frame narrative, I don't think we need to see that. So there we go. I think we're just playing this breaker here, and we're just gonna possibly short down, but I want to see if we want to get up a little bit higher or not. I just want to keep paying attention to this. So yeah, we hit the high, we traded down, and we hit this internal low. We hit this 830. We didn't hit 50% of the opening range yet. I wonder if we did on ES. So close there. We're at 25%. So if we're really bullish, it's gonna play off this here. Yeah, I want to just pay attention to what we're going to get within here now. Like, the question is, do we inverse this 2-minute or do we not? Trade down, volume imbalance we hit. So this fair value gap we hit here. So we never hit that over here though. So we have bullish SMT here at these wicks. We're overall bullish in the higher time frame. 4-hour just opened now, literally just now at 10 o'clock. So that's a bullish 4-hour closure. So this thing could just keep ripping on through up to these highs, and up to this high, up to this high again. So in a bullish market, we can expect these pullbacks, and then we could possibly expect a continuation. But we'll see what we get. I think it was 50-50 here based on this 30-second. But it's now starting to look like it wants to go long again. We'll see how this closes here. Okay, 3 minute there. If we close this 3 minute like that, we should be targeting these highs again. I don't want to go back and forth on just like what we're getting here though. It's like I want to pick a direction and stick with it. And I can accept just being wrong if I'm wrong. We hit the high, then we hit the internal lows. So market open, we were bearish the entire time. We traded up, came back down, hit the low again. Does this want to just manipulate people to keep going long? I don't know. So we got 24 seconds left in this 2 minute. So does this 2 minute get inverse or does it not get inverse? That's the question here. Do we have SMT at the lows? Yes, we do. SMT in the wicks here. Close that 2 minute? I'm not sure. No, we didn't. So the trade's not valid. We also never hit this internal high, these equal highs. So we'll see if we hit these equal highs here, and then if it wants to continue to shift down. We'll see. The overall narrative could be bearish here. It's starting to look like it could be getting weak, you know. But we'll see what it wants to do. Liquidity. So we keep asking ourselves, where are we in this market? We're hitting the high and then we're hitting the internal low, and now we're just playing in this range. And we just got to see if it wants to keep respecting like certain PD rays or not. So it's using this fair value gap here. I don't want to get lost in lower time frames and just like pick a bias. I'd rather just stick to the higher time frame based on the draw and liquidity. Hit the highs and we pulled back. So like that's not surprising that we hit the highs here and then we pulled back down. So that's something we can expect to happen. Now the question is, do we just want to continue back down lower or not? Do you give us the power 3 move? We hit the high here. Let's see. There's not really much SMT here. It's still very strong. Yeah, none of these 1 hours actually hit the low yet, so we could come back down to this 1 hour low. That's right there. So yeah, we just had our 1 minute inverse here. 30-second inverse as well. This is likely to trade back down to this low once more here. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that. I just don't like these equal highs up there. Just trying to pay attention. Whatever we get is what we get. So we're getting a rejection. So we hit this high here, trade back down, we hit the low, came back into this range, and now we're still rejecting that range there. It's just giving us a consolidation at this point. Going to my head, we're going to use this order block to trade down lower, but I still don't think it's high probability yet. I don't see the setup I want to take here. I would say we should reach this 50% of the opening range, though. about to get another 3-minute closure down below that inversion again. This isn't bad. I mean, now we have SMT on these wicks here. But I don't want to take the trades just based on that SMT. It's just consolidating. I don't really like the consolidation. I think we could still short, but since we took this low, I'm not really a huge fan of shorting that either. Like, that's something, like, I used to, like, jump the gun and just short this right now, but now it's, like, it could short, but I'm fine with it shorting without me, because we just took this low here. And yes, it is another 1 hour low. I think we could reach it. But since we just took that low, and, like, we're overall bullish, like, it's hard for me to want to just jump the gun and just short this just because the SMT here at the wicks, even though it is possible that we could come hit that 1 hour low. And we just made equal lows here, so, like, it's likely that we're going to keep shorting down. If we hit those lows, let's put an alert there. If we just hit these lows, it's possible. Hitting this fair value gap with this breaker here on YM. Maybe this uses it as a resistance and then short down, hit this low, and then possibly lower. Got that 5-minute order block. We shouldn't come up above this high if we're going to keep going short. I don't know, it's just another one of those situations where I'd rather just sit out. And, like, there's nothing wrong with sitting out. Versus, like, some idiots right now, like, trying to play it back and forth, taking the short here and the buy here and, like, the short here. Or break even on the buy. Like, nah. Like, why wouldn't you just wait for something a little bit more clear, break out of this range? We already said, since we hit this high, and we have that guy or woman, I don't even know who it is, speaking later. Kugler speaks. I don't even know who that is. Or Barkin. I've heard of Barkin before. But Kugler, no. I don't know who that is, but they're speaking later. So maybe we just get our consolidation until they speak at 11, and then we start getting movement. And we have another speaker at 12:30, so maybe even more movement. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm not trying to really push anything in this stupid consolidation, because, like, this consolidation can really just push so many emotions to you. You know, and it's like, I could short this with a stop loss here, but what if we just rip right back up into this high and then come back down? And we actually get an inversion set up there. I'd rather wait for something, like, more clear for me. I'm battling with, like, wanting to take a trade because I haven't taken a trade at all yet this week on my eval. So, like, is it out of fear? No. Like, I wouldn't say I'm not taking a trade out of, like, fear of losing the account. There was this buy yesterday in that 30-second that I missed, but at the same time we were just bouncing back and forth in here, and it was kind of hard for me to want to take anything. Yes, we hit this low, this inefficiency, and we could just retrace a little bit. Yes, that's fine, but this 30-second here closed. I could have taken this buy up, and also on the 2-minute, when the 2-minute closed here, I could have taken this buy up, but we were just playing around in this 15-minute as well. We hit this, and we're already bearish on the narrative here because we've been breaking so many PD arrays without a rejection. So I don't want to force anything there. So now look at what we're getting. We hit this low, and now we're rejecting it. Where I used to take a short here, I didn't even take it on a paper account because I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold myself back and not do that. Used to short this just because we hit this, and then we SMT here at the wicks. Oh, let's trade down, but no. I know what I need to look for now. So now we're back up above the 2-minute IFVG now that we had here. So we're back up above it. We closed it. Like I said, if we close up above this, we should be ripping up to this high and possibly this high. So let's see if we get that. I'm not trading this. I'm just watching. Let's say we got a fill here. Where it is, like right now. A 2020. I'm just observing this one. This is not A plus in any way, shape, or form. We're in a consolidation. We're just breaking out of the consolidation. It can easily pull back in. We got equal lows down here. But one thing we do have, we have a lower low and a higher low, SMT. We do have our inversion closure now. Let's see actually what we're getting here on the 1 minute. So no SMT yet. Maybe we tap down into this fair value gap on ES. We got these equal highs here. Let me leave that. Let's see. So they're all in sync right now together. So there's not really any SMT here. We do like a 15-second. So they're all in sync right now. It's looking like we're gonna rip up towards that high, which is cool. There we go. Highs taken based on that 2-minute inversion closure. Now let's see if it wants to go for that 20 points or not. But if we took the buy right when it closed, like right here, we'd be at almost 20 points right now. It's looking like we're gonna reach for this high, but we'll see, because we haven't yet hit this high yet on YM. And if we hit that high, it'll give us divergence up here, SMT. And look at that. That happened like right when our macro started. Well, ended with 10-10 macro. So I just don't like that consolidation, you know? It's kind of hard for me to want to take anything in that consolidation here. Crazy. There we go. Blew right through that high, hit that other high that we're looking at up there. So that was pretty decent. That's why I didn't want to short within this either. But we got that reversal. It wasn't that clean, honestly. This price action has been so effing weird. So I'm just really just looking at this price action the past few days, and it's not my favorite. So we trade the low. Made a lower low here, but equal lows. We had these equal highs here and here. We close that 2-minute inversion, and then we just trade higher. But once we got that 2-minute inversion closure here, new candle opened, and it didn't really give much, you know. But that was a nice move there. So let's say we got it here. We're targeting 20 points, and then we got up to 30 points. It's looking like we're going to 40, maybe even 50 or 60 points. Let's go 60 points here. That'd be a steep move if it reaches up to 60 points. Holy shit. That'd be pretty steep. So right there. It's all good. I missed that move. That's completely fine with it. This is just the nature of trading. You know, you'll have good weeks, you'll have bad weeks, you'll have impulsive weeks, you'll have not impulsive weeks. Let's see. Yeah, that was a nice 2-minute IFVG right there. to rip right up. Wow, still going. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of easy to get mixed up if you're looking for the buy, and then we pull back down, and then it could short back down into these lower levels. We're still watching this IFVG. If we get a closure up above it, we could go long up to these highs into here, which is what we got, you know. So if we can see that we have this SMT divergence from this low here, and then we got this low here in YM. We target up towards these relative equal highs that are up here, and then up within here as well. All these other highs. So this is a nice little tape read here. Not bad at all. Just a lot of consolidation before it even ripped up. So what I really would have liked to see was one of these 1 hours. On one of these, like, tap into the 1 hour for a value gap, and we never really got that. It just wanted to pull back down and then leave those lows and rip up higher. So since we took this low here on the 15-minute, I believe it was a 30-minute too. Yeah, this 30-minute. We had the SMT and the 30-minute wicks. So that's why I did not want to short this, and then I just wanted to continue long up from there. And I wanted to take a long a little bit lower, but like if we got out of this consolidation, we just closed this 2-minute inversion, then ripped up, and I didn't want to take the buy based on the 2-minute. Since we had all this consolidation, it came down, came back up, then pulled back. So that's just saying it's not really respecting these PD arrays, but then we closed up above here, and that was a long up from there. But if we pulled back down here in the lower time frame, like a 1 minute, that would have been nice to see some more SMT here and then go long from there. But we'll see. We'll see if anything happens like the rest of this morning. We got that guy speaking in 45 minutes, so we'll see what's up. Yeah, I just gotta record this in the journal now, just based on everything that we see. Not bad at all. Yeah, so when market opened, so like this was like very indecisive at first. It came up and hit the high, and like when you take big liquidity, you can expect a pullback. But we also had more liquidity up here, and on the 4 hour, we're already bullish. So we could expect this high to continue to get reached to, especially with this 4 hour bullish closure that we just had. And then it came down, gave us that wick. The 30-minute time frame played off this for value gap. And then we ended up consolidating here. I didn't really like that consolidation. But notice how when we opened up, we traded down, came back in, and pulled back down again, took out these lows. So a lot of people are short right now, and it's stopping out a lot of the buyers early. So once we get that confirmation of the 2-minute inverse right here, it's green light for it to start ripping up towards this high, and then this high, and then possibly higher, up towards this other higher time frame high. It's up within here, which is 34 points away. So 20-point risk, $400 risk. You're making, what is that? 600, about a little more than 600. Maybe 650, 700 on that trade right there. All-time highs again. Nothing really else for it to reach for. I can just keep ripping on up now. Wow, that's wild. Let's see if these other stocks are just ripping today. Amazon, Google. Amazon's up huge. Google. Wow. They're crazy. Bitcoin's just in this huge range right now too. It's not really doing much. Wonder if we're gonna get like a fake out into here and then just a nice short back down. Wonder if that's gonna happen here. Just a nice continuation now in these three indices. Get this high up here. So we just shorted to that low. Just continue back on up. Yep, this thing's on fire today. Wow. That's some nice movement for sure. Like, notice how we traded back down into this range. We never hit our... actually, we did, didn't we? No, I think I moved it by accident, yeah. Here, and then we got to close there. Yeah, we never hit 50% of this opening range, which is fine. We did hit 20, well, like 25% of that. We came up, we closed up above it, wicked it, closed up above it again, and then we just continued up on through. So if we go over to ES as well, you can really see how we did something similar. We traded down, it was 25%, ripped up above, with the SMT at these lows, closed this inversion, and then we continued up on through here. Yeah, it's not looking like I'm gonna get any trade today. It just hit the draw on liquidity. We already hit it. So now I just need to wait and then continue to just wait for more price action. Like, I don't want to long this, and I also don't want to short this. We already hit the highs all the way up here. So, like, if you're going to get anything out of this, it's like at these new all-time highs, if you're trying to catch this, like, where is it even going to? Like, you could draw standard deviations with your fibs. Like, let's say, let's go to a 15-minute. You could use a standard deviation on this to get you potential targets, but we already hit the -1 on the standard deviation here. So I'm just measuring this swing down, so this range, and then it's giving you a standard deviation. So you already hit the -1. It could go to -2, 2.5 to 4, yeah, whatever. But those could just be potential take profit points based on this swing that we had down here. Okay, so there we go. I would leave it right here. But yeah, we already traded up. It could give us more accumulation and then a continuation long later, but we need to have like a lot more accumulation there. And you can even see on these lower time frames, we're just trading up, pulling back. We do have bullish SMT from this lower low here, lower low here. We made a higher low here, and then this continued up on through. You can even measure like this swing that we have here. We also hit the -1 on that swing, possibly go to -2, -2.5, based on this. But this is just a lot. Like, I don't like trading like this in these higher time frame ranges like that. But this is something just to pay attention to. But yeah, man, I have not been liking this movement. Like the last 3 days of the market open. Like, market open here, we just didn't even take out really any liquidity, and we just started selling off. Didn't give me a setup really. Like, we didn't hit liquidity and then go down. We just left the highs and went down, and didn't really give me much. And when we bought up here the other day, we just came into a discount. We left the low, so we didn't even hit liquidity really, and then we just started trading back up higher. And I wasn't trading like this far into the day, and like this, we hit liquidity here, and then we hit this order block. So we already took out the high. So I don't like trading when we already take out a liquidity point. If we're already bearish, even though we have these equal highs, we're already bearish. We didn't even hit these lows yet, so that'd be breaking the rules. We trade up, and then there was a buy within here. But then I liked the buy that was down here, but I wasn't, after this low was taken, but I wasn't liking this. Well, I wasn't trading the PM. So I did like that short-term buy within here. There's lower time frame. I believe it's like a 1 minute or whatever. So yeah, we had this low taken, came up, shifted down, and then we had this 1 minute inversion. So that's like an A setup, A minus setup here to like take up to 20 points above this high. The no wick candle here. And then into this inefficiency before selling off. And then that was another, this was a nice short too, because you had SMT and then we had these equal lows. But yesterday, it was bullshit as well, because we didn't even take the high, and then we started selling off, and we were in the middle of this range from the low to the high, and we had equal highs, so I didn't want to buy it, but I also didn't want to short it, because the narrative was bearish, but it's hard to short when you have equal highs up here. So we traded down, and we never even hit a huge liquidity pool either. We just came into a discount, and we rejected here. There was a 30-second setup down within this area after we took out the swing low, the SMT with YM. But even then, since we didn't take the higher time frame liquidity on any of the indices, the narrative was already bearish, so it was like against the rules to even take the buy on this, even though it was just a small pullback. I'm not trying to look for just small little pullbacks. I want to be able to have potential for a huge range up. So if we had this accumulation down here and then that 30-second buy, we'd have potential for a long move up into that range. So that just failed right there, so nothing really there. And then I didn't trade PM, and this is kind of choppy looking with equal lows anyway, so I didn't like that. But then the real buy actually set up today. Like, if this happened during New York session instead of pre-market, this was a potential buy here where we we didn't hit the low, but it had SMT of the other indices, but then we shifted structure. This is a nice buy right in here when you shift structure down in these lower time frames. So in that 2-minute inverse there, that's a really nice buy because we have all this trend line liquidity, and you can take it up to this high, these equal highs, this high. Then overall, we were looking for these highs up here. So like, if this set up at market open or 15 minutes after market open, that's a nice buy. But then we hit this high in the pre-market. Then we sold off, and then we came up and we just consolidated, and we had this 2-minute inversion, which was nice. But based on all this consolidation, and we already hit the high. So with my rule is if we hit a high, we can expect a retracement into internal, which was this, and then we can either expect consolidation or a continuation. But with the news, the people speaking here in 30 minutes, I was expecting a consolidation before that news came out, and wasn't really expecting this huge move to happen now, which it did. It's fine. You can't fully predict the market, but that was an okay setup, but it was within this consolidation. And if you know consolidations, look what can happen. If you look at this consolidation here, let's say, let's find a good example. Let's go to a 1 minute actually. Might be better on a 1 minute here to give you an example. So like, let's say right here, you wanted to long this 1 minute inverse here. So it came down and then you wanted to long it, and just we're in a consolidation. It could just keep just consolidating in here and not just rip up, where that's what happened today. It actually just ripped right up. So we also have, I mean, this 1 minute inverse here, and then we ripped up, but it didn't really go that far. It just came right back in. So like, we inversed this here, and then we came up, we hit this high. I mean, you could do partials from here. So 40, 50, we even hit 60 points. So depending on your strategy, you may or may not be at break even, but it comes right back down. So based on me expecting a possible seek and destroy situation here instead of this high being taken right here. So after we hit this area, because this candle took liquidity, so that's a high probability area. We ended up closing back up above it here, and we had SMT at the low, so higher low, and we had a lower low on YM, as you can tell, right here, and equal highs. We shifted up, closed here, and then we went up towards this high. So what could have happened, we could have taken this trade and hit this high here, and then move it to break even. So if it pulls back down and does the seek and destroy situation where it consolidates, it would just be a break even trade. Or if it does want to go for that bias, because you don't know in hindsight. Like, hindsight you do know, but like before, you don't. Before it happens, you don't know. So for example, it closed here. We were expecting this high and this high to be hit, but we don't know for sure because we don't know if it's going to be a seek and destroy situation back and forth. But yeah, that's just how I'm looking at the market. Yeah, anybody have any questions? And right now we're so high up right now. If we get a long continuation, that'd be nice, but we gotta be aiming for something. And we could keep going long. It's very possible we just hit this high here on YM now. We could possibly have a pullback at some point within here. But we'd want to see a lot of correlation within these lower time frames if we're going to get a continuation long. But we'll see if we're actually going to pull back here. I want to watch this 1 minute fair value gap. So if this 1 minute fair value gap decides to hold price, we could continue. Or if we break down and inverse this 1 minute, we could actually trade towards this low and possibly this low down here. And that's if we get more SMT at the highs, because as of right now, we don't have any SMT, which is making me think we could just pull back and get some type of inverse to keep going long towards this high here. So if we go to, let's go to a 5 minute here. Let's look at the 5 minute for value gaps. We have one here. We have one here. We have one here. So how far does this thing want to pull back? Let's go to a 15 minute. If we were to continue long, we could see YM pull possibly down into this breaker here, where price traded down below, created this order block, and we broke back up above it. So this candle is now the breaker. So if we bring that out over here, here, I'll draw it on my chart so you guys have a nice look on it. So this breaker, we can see if this wants to trade into this breaker and give us a nice accumulation for a possible long back up to this high. If it wants to keep going long, if it gives us a potential setup to keep going there. And if that does happen, we could possibly expect price to pull back down into here. And we got these relative equal lows here on NQ. As you can tell right here. I wonder if it wants to get down into here. If we get some more accumulation up here, then a pull back down and possibly another inversion to go long. So let's say there's an inverse candle here to go long right there. That's possible as well. Or if we just consolidate here, we shift up, but then we have a bearish SMT, lower high, higher high, and it shifted up strong, more accumulation up here, and a shift lower. We could possibly get an inverse to actually short it down towards this low, this low, this low. So whatever price wants to tell me now, it's in this moment, you're like, you could be having FOMO for missing out on this leg up, but you got to know what you're looking for. So it's like hunting. It's like hunting a deer. Like, you got to know what you're looking for. You're looking for a deer so you can get the deer. You're not just gonna just randomly just shoot at stuff hoping you get a deer, you know. So you gotta look and know what you're looking for here, you know. So like, this is not what I'm looking for. So this is 50-50. We can trade down here, or we can continue back up here right now. I don't know what's gonna do, but I do know if I do get one of my pattern setups that I look for, and we have our overall narrative in that direction, I will look to take a trade. So it's always the time. It's like, what time is it? And then it's the narrative. What's the narrative of price? And then you look for your pattern. It's not pattern, oh, I see my setup, and then I take the trade. No, that's not it at all. That's never it. Because there's fake setups all the time. Just like this one. This looked bearish here, but this was obviously a fake setup because it ended up buying up. And why was it fake? Because we hit this low and our overall narrative was bullish to go to this high. Just because we hit these internal highs didn't mean we couldn't get up here. So it's a lot of chart time and experience of really understanding order flow of price action. And I use all three of these indices. I never trade YM ever. This one here, I use YM as an indicator of what's going to happen with these other indices. Okay, same with DXY. I don't use DXY that much, but I can use it as like an indicator. So I can see that we're pulling back. We have a 4-hour for value gap here. Maybe we want to reach down there. If we do reach down there, we could send higher on the other indices. But right now we're just consolidating. We got a lot of equal highs up here. So if this wants to reverse and just rip up to these highs, we could possibly expect a pullback on the indices here. So I'm continuing to look where we are in the chart. How are these candles closing? How much longer do we have in the candles? So the beginning of the 1-hour candle started here. We went up. Now we're pulling back. Does it want to pull back 40 minutes into this 1-hour candle? Or does it not want to? Like, how far down does it want to? And then do we continue back up on through for the rest of the hour? So where are we on the 5 minute? Let's go to the 9 minute here. We have a 9 minute for value gap here. We haven't hit that on any of them. So we're making a higher high here, lower high there. So I know in the higher time frame, we just hit this higher time frame liquidity in YM. So if I bring this up here, we just hit this higher time frame internal liquidity. We have external up here. We go to a 15-minute. We came into these order blocks that are up here. So if price wants to continue down and break down below these candles, let's say we inverse this 5-minute fair value gap, so we close down below it on a 5-minute. What do we have down below that? We have equal lows here, and what do we have in 19 minutes? We have a speaker getting on, so we have someone speaking. So that could be a catalyst to send price down lower. So it's keep asking yourself, like, what do we see? It'd be nice to come up one more time, create SMT where the other ones make a lower high, this makes a higher high, and then we shift lower and then come down. So I just want to keep paying attention. What are we getting with all these indices here? We got this fair value gap here. Got this fair value gap here. We got a macro starting in 9 minutes, so let's see what we get in the macro. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Let's see what we get here. So notice how we came back up and we closed up above this inversion here on YM. We made a lower low, higher low here on the wick, and we're trading back up and above. I don't think it's a great setup, but I want to look to see if one of these wants to take the high one more time. We got this 4-minute inverse here, as well as a 3-minute inverse. So let's see if this wants to buy up from here to hit this high. So I want to pay attention to this here on YM. If we want to reach up to that high there, or if we just don't. I just think I need a lot more information before I still want to take anything. Yeah, so we have that 3-minute inverse right here on YM. Let's see if it wants to reach up towards this high now. We're overall in bullish order flow. And we're just reaching towards the short-term highs that are higher. Just about to reach that up there. So we traded down into this order block here on ES. Traded into this fair value gap on NQ. As we came into like this discount within this breaker here on YM. If you go down to a 30-second, you can really see that SMT that I talk about. There's really not much, though. That's just the one issue that we have. We have the equal lows here in ES, but we have this making the lower low. That's the only SMT that we have. So it's not that high probability, but we got these highs up here that we can reach to. So if we were in this trade, one of these would need to be, this position would need to be closed if one of these hits the high. Looks like it would be NQ that hits the high first. See bullish volume imbalance now. Which one's gonna hit the high first? Let's see. There we go, it's NQ. Let's see if YM wants to hit it or not. So if you're in that position, that's now need to be closed now. Yep, there we go. Hit the high. 1-to-1, $400 risk, $400 profit. Based on an inversion model right there. Just a continuation inversion right there. Nothing crazy. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna call it quits here. The market hasn't really given me a whole lot to like work with because we already hit the higher time frame high up here, pulled back down. I didn't really want to mess with anything within here. We did have that 2-minute inversion after we hit, like, came down, hit this low. But we ended up ripping up towards these highs. Pretty nice. Not bad at all. But we'll see if anything does happen the rest of this session. I think we could expect a possible consolidation. But now that we got SMT at these highs now, again. So like we hit this high again, we could see if any of these want to get inversed and then trade lower. That's a possibility. But we need to see a good amount more information before we get that sell-off. So what we could see, since we just hit that high, have SMT. We just had this 30-second inversion closure here. We have the SMT with the other indices. So we could potentially see this start to sell off right now. Based on that 30-second inverse right there. So that's only a 30-second. I'm not a huge fan of this trade setup though. It's really not that great, to be honest. But we could look for something like that to continue to sell off. Just 20 points down to this low here. So I wonder if it's going to get more information now. Let's see. It's not even loading now. So this looks like it just sell right off. This could just start ripping right down now. So that 30-second IFVG. Got their closer down below it right there. And now we're just selling off. Smooth. It's always happening so quick. Lower high. Higher high. Higher high. So one of them is making the lower high here. So what can we expect when one of them makes the lower high? We're going to expect a potential sell-off, so we look for like an inverse. So we got that 30-second inverse there. Tapped up in the fair value gap after we broke the structure here. And then we traded down towards this low. So once closure happened right here, let's say we got an entry, that's 2020. $400 risk, $400 profit. You know? So now the question is, do we get back up into this range or do we not? That's the real question now. Let me take everything off. Do we just get a consolidation in here now and keep playing in this range? Or do we sell off down to these relative equal lows down here? So let me pull this up. We have a fair value gap here in this 5-minute. It's right about here. We also have this relative equal low down here. And we just played off a, pretty sure it was a 30-second fair value gap here. We just played off this 30-second fair value gap. Now we have this order block here. We use this breaker. Let's see if this wants to continue to sell off. Five-second chart's kind of a mess. We can come to the swing high once more here. Relative equal highs here in the 5-second. But we'll see what wants to happen in this area within here. Making a high, higher high. This is making a lower high here. So this making the lower high on YM. Does that want to create that SMT to keep having it move lower? So now we just pay attention here. Do we inverse this 15-second and then continue lower or not? That's the question. Or do we just hit that and use it as a fair value gap to move up? We'll see if this wants to follow through or not. Gun to my head, we're still going short. Let's see what we get. I don't like trading lower time frames like this all the time, but they give okay setups. This 30-second was nice, but it's not my cup of tea for wanting to trade like on an eval. It's just too lower time frame. It's like I want to get the bigger picture of everything going on. So let's see. We're about to get a 3-minute close. 54 seconds. We'll see how this wants to play out. Does this want to just keep reacting off this and trade down? Let's see. Let's see. None of these have hit this low yet. So if we hit this low, see, now we just hit the low here. We made a higher low here, a higher low here. This could just pull right back on into this range now. We'll see what happens though. I don't know, man. Nothing's really like A plus. Nothing has really been A plus to me. Past few days. So they're all like mediocre setups. It's like even this one, I took this on a paper. I didn't take this one on a eval just because like I don't know, I don't like trading these lower time frames. So we inversed that 30 seconds, so I took that sell, and then I took profit down here, and then I took another 15-second entry here based on that 15-second inversion, and then I closed it at the low, and then another one here. So I don't know, man. It's just not my cup of tea this week. I'm gonna close it here. So let's get out. But it just has not been my favorite price action. I don't like trading these lower time frames on eval. Like my best ones happen on like anywhere between like a 1 minute to like a 3-minute inversion. And we're not getting any 1 minute and 3-minute inversions here. So I'm not getting that. So like 2 minute, this one was here, but it wasn't the best setup. And I was papering this buy here. So small loss on that one, which I talked about earlier. But this inversion here, I didn't even trade that because I didn't like the consolidation we were in. But I ended up just ripping from there. But this is just basic order flow from here. But this is just way too low time frame for me to want to really be in. But once we hit that high, though, on the SMT from up here, higher high, lower high, we shifted down. I mean, it's valid enough to get in. But like I said, not my cup of tea for everything I like to see. But yeah, it's good to tape read and paper trade it, and it's like you'll know your A+ setups when you see them. So it's just I'm just not getting them. They're just not forming for me the past few days. But yeah, not bad. Another 1,200 on this account. But yeah, I'm hopping off now. I'll leave it as that. Nothing too crazy today. But take it easy, guys. Love y'all. Peace out. Not financial advice.